there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the April 2021 edition of Stretch the Sketch. Today we are using this sketch and it is from Sketches in Time, and it's definitely an interesting sketch. It's very different from what we normally see as a sketch. So I started out with deciding that I was going to go ahead and go with a double page, which is something I do most often with this Stretch the Sketch series because I know a lot of people still love double pages, and a lot of people have a lot of photos that they need to get on a page, and I too have a lot of photos that I need to get on a page, especially when I work with my photos from the mid-2000s, and that is because I have a lot of event photos that don't necessarily have a story for, but I want to get several photos on the layout to kind of show the story. At this point, I don't remember anything like any anecdotal stuff that happened during the day for the most part, but I do want to document that this story was actually, or this event actually happened. So I started out with these 4-H papers, which are super busy and super old, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try and we'll just go with it. And I made my background, I cut some clovers out of that black paper there that you see, and a little piece of it was too close to the edge to use it for my border, so I'm just going to fill that little tiny gap in, and you can see that I'm doing that pretty much right, well, maybe not right here, but I'm gonna jostle this around a little bit, get it mounted a little straighter, and I gave myself a 1/4 inch all the way around, which is not something I normally do. I normally go with 1/8 of an inch all the way around, but in this particular case I decided to go a little bit larger, and so I backed it, both sheets, with a 1/4 inch all the way around. And so now I'm just pulling these strips off of my silhouette cutting mat, and these are just a bunch of clovers that I attached together in a row, and then I welded them, and so I'm going to use those as that piece that goes underneath the photos on the sketch. Super delicate, so I'm kind of being super careful with them. And then there is on the sketch, there's like where you would put your journaling down the center and then the title at the bottom. Well, I'm not going to put my journaling down the center, and I kind of wanted to wash out some of the text on here, and I didn't do a great job of it, but I just took some white paint and I kind of like smudged it down with a dry brush to kind of wash out that text area. And then I am going to go over that with some green dilutions in a couple of different greens, and I'm just kind of like brushing it on to kind of make the white so it's not quite so white. I don't know if this was my best work or my best option, but it does work in the end, and I like how it looks at the end, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing. So if you'll bear with me while we kind of learn together, that would be awesome. So anyway, yeah, there's definitely a lot going on because there's that text paper. So I'm doing everything I can to kind of tone it down. And I'm not sure that those white streaks toned it down any, but this border strip with the black is definitely going to tone it down a little because I'm going to fill in all of those clovers with this lighter green color. And so what I did was I just ran that lighter colored paper through my silhouette, cutting the exact same design twice. And then I just used my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to put some adhesive on the black parts of the cut file, or the outline of the cut file, which is, I mean, that's what the cut file is. It's a big outline. And so I definitely want that to stick, and so the cuts are so thin that a liquid adhesive is really my best option, and that usually is what I use for a cut file anyway. I feel like it just holds really well, and you don't have to mess with the thought of maybe tearing it by using some other type of adhesive like a roll-on adhesive or my ATG or something like that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fill in all of these with the lighter green, and I really like how that's looking. I like that it's toning things down, making it not so busy, providing a little white space for your eye to rest. Even though it is in a clover shape, it since it's a solid kind of color, it's not solid cardstock. It does have some texture to it, but it's not adding pattern. it's kind of bringing things down and giving your eye that spot to rest on. So I like that. And I am going to do that for both sides. And then I figure out it might just be easier to squeeze some of the glue into the outlined area and then press it down rather than actually putting the glue on the little piece that I'm holding with my tweezers. And voila, there it is, all done. Now the border strip that I have on the right hand side, I got it a little bit lower than the left hand side, especially in the middle. And part of that was because in the photos, some of the detail in the photo that I wanted to keep was a little lower. But I will kind of take care of that by adding a couple of clovers over the top of it, and you'll see that a little bit later. Now I did also cut out some individual clovers, and so I'm pulling those little outlines and some of the solids, and I'm going to create my embellishment areas out of those so that it all kind of has that same feel and that same look. Now I went ahead and I stuck the outlines with using the same glue onto some more of that green paper, and now I'm just cutting them out because I did not run the green through my silhouette to cut out the individual ones. I had already deleted them off my page, and in order to get them the same size, I would have had to cut the black ones over again, so I just decided this was my best option. Had I been thinking, I probably would have used my silhouette to do that, but in this case, this worked. I didn't have to cut too many of them, just like 4 or 5. And okay, maybe 6, but they were simple to cut, so it wasn't a big problem. And at this point, I'm thinking my title is going to be County Presentation Day because that is the event that they're at, and they were doing a puppet show, which seems kind of weird since it's 4-H, but 4-H really is a leadership program. It's not really specific to agriculture or raising animals, which I know it seems like that because it's something that we usually do in a rural area, but because we are not in a rural area, there are several different other projects, and really the projects can be whatever the project leader wants it to be. For the most part, the adults that run the projects have a lot of leeway in that as long as they get it approved by their county. And so you also might have cooking projects. I actually did run a scrapbooking project. In our area, they had aeronautics and robotics. And so Puppet Project was something that this family was interested in and had done for quite a while. And so they taught it to the kids, and the kids made the puppet theater, they made the puppets, they wrote the script, and they are presenting it at their county presentation day, and then they are judged against a rubric using the Danish system. So they're not really competing against other people, they're competing against what is written on the rubric, and they get scored that way. And so at this particular event, they took a gold home, and that means they get to go to state presentation day and present there, and then they get judged at state presentation day. So it's really cool. They get a lot of experience presenting things, they get a lot of experience competing, and they have a lot of fun doing it together as a group. So now that I'm done with my spiel on 4-H, I'm sorry about that, I kind of went off on a tangent, but you saw me there adding some foam adhesive so that I'm popping up some of these clovers, and I am popping up some of the ones in the borders up across the underneath the photos there, and you saw me add a 3-leaf clover kind of in the middle there to hide that gap on the right hand side. And so I'm liking how that looks. It's coming together nicely. And then I will be working on my title, and I don't make you sit through all of my title work because it is very long and involved. I use the Heather Alphas from Pink Fresh Studio, and I'm using the dies. I have to cut all of them out on black and on white because I want the bulk of the letter to be on black and the little outline to be in white. And so I didn't make you sit through watching me cut all of that. Here are all of the letters already cut by the magic of YouTube. And then you can see all of the letters that I didn't need are up at the top of the screen on the left hand side there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and glue everything down, and I don't think I make you sit through all of that either. The alphas for the Heather set Also the Adore set. There's a couple of different sets that Pink Fresh has, but the Alphas cut the letter and that little tiny outline at the same time. So you basically have to run everything through twice to get both colors. So here I am, I'm just getting everything adhered down, and then I'm going to add the outline, and I think that just makes everything pop a lot better than if I had just left it all black. And again, because I'm doing a text over a text paper, I wanted to make sure that it was bold enough to be easily readable by your eye and not confused with all of the other text that's on the background, because that text is pretty bold in itself. So you definitely know this is 4-H. I'm not writing 4-H anywhere. I will put the little tiny word county across the clovers that are right at the beginning of the letter P there. And so that's going to make it say County Presentation Day. And that is not going to be super bold. They're going to be small letters. But when you look at it, you get the idea that it is County Presentation Day versus State Presentation Day. So also, my kids will probably know, because when they look at these, they will recognize where they're at in the photos. That is the county presentation day was held at our regular meeting spot for our club, and versus having it at a different club's meeting spot. So it looks very familiar to them, I'm sure. So, and I believe my daughter was the one presenting in this. I think my son was still a little bit too young to actually present, and so he would have probably done the following year. And what I'm doing here is I just had to cut out an extra E in white because I didn't cut out enough the first time around. So then I have these dies from, I think that this is called Art something, Art C, Art, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't even know where I got these from, but it has dies and stamps. I don't end up using the stamps, I just use the dies, and it's just a smaller font, and I'm doing the same white, and I'm cutting the entire word county all at one time. And so there you see it, and I actually like the way it looked right there, but no, I mess with it, and then I don't like it as well at the end, but that's okay. It works out anyway. You can still read it, and I do end up having the letters overlap each other, which may seem kind of weird, but to get them on that raised clover, that's what I had to do, because otherwise they would be kind of falling off, and they were just too small to kind of pop them up off of the background otherwise. So I'm going to glue those down, and then I'm going to add a little bit of sequins into each of those clover areas. And while I do that, let me just make sure you know that the Stretch to Sketch series, we've been doing it almost 3 years now, and it happens the third Sunday of every month. You can go and check out all of the people that are playing along in my description box down below, and you can see how they have stretched the sketch. Some people go smaller, some people go larger, and it's always interesting to see what they do, and it's especially interesting when multiple people go and change it to the same size, because it still ends up coming out different for everyone, and that is what is the most fun about this series. And so if this is something that you enjoy, give me a thumbs up down below, and feel free to leave me any comments that you may have, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Again, check out everyone else playing along in the description box down below. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding a spot for my journaling. That was kind of my last minute decision of what to do, because I needed someplace that didn't have writing all over it already to add my journaling. So I added just a strip of that paper that I used to create the centers of all of the clovers. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the sequins down, and I'm keeping that pretty simple as well. I'm not going crazy with them. I'm just adding this light green color of sequins to those areas to bring a little bit of extra interest and shimmer, and I really like how that looks. My glue bottle did get a little bit clogged, and that's probably because it was open for so long while I was doing all of the alphabet letters down at the bottom. And that is not something that I normally have happen with this particular glue. And when it does happen, you can either poke it like that, or eventually I go run it, pop the top off, run it under the sink to clean it out, and then put the top back on. And then I squeeze it a little bit onto some scratch paper, because there's always a little bit of added moisture when you first squeeze it after rinsing it out. So hopefully if you ever have yours clog, that's a good tip for you. again, pop the top off there and rinse it with a little bit of warm water, and it'll fix it without any issues. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the close-ups. They're coming up in just a moment. Bye-bye now.